Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of BettingTheW. I'm Max. This is Damon.
Yes, sir.
We got Kate behind the camera. We got a big weekend of women's sports here to discuss, so let's jump right in. Damon, let's start off with a little basketball.
Yep.
On the court. I want to start with... Oh, I know what I want to start with. We gave out a little midweek parlay earlier this week on Tuesday. UCLA traveled to Columbia, big matchup with South Carolina. We gave out UCLA plus 17.5 and the over 127.5 points. Hit with ease. I was never worried about that over in the slightest.
Not even a little.
2 for 2 on our picks. UCLA covered with ease. Over covered with something else that's not ease, but we got there. 2 for 2. So follow us on Instagram and keep an eye out for those midweek parlays because we might have another one this week. There are ranked matchups all over the board that we want to talk about.
Yeah.
So I would like to start for this past week with Iowa. Iowa was my preseason favorite, early season favorite to win the national championship because I like the way that they score a lot of points. I did express concern that they allow a lot of points as well, and this week they allowed a lot more points than they scored.
Yeah, I mean, we knew that going in. The question was, will they be able to outscore their opponents? So far, in the games that actually matter, answer is no.
No. 2 big matchups, UConn this week, and then NC State last night. Both games, Caitlin Clark had huge games.
Combined for 70 in those games.
It's ridiculous. She had 24 points in the first half last night. You can basically bank on a 30-piece from her every night. 45 last night. But against ranked teams, that's not going to be enough. And that is concerning when the rest of the team isn't doing much scoring or rebounding or defense.
Or anything.
Anything at all.
Heliocentric offenses like this, it's just scary. If Caitlin Clark doesn't have a crazy game, even when she does have a crazy game like last night,
exactly,
you can't win.
It's not going to be enough.
She literally is a whole offense.
Exactly. One player can't carry the entire team, and that is what they're relying on right now. And that's concerning because they do play in the Big Ten. I've got a question for you. Do you think that the Big Ten is the best conference in the country right now?
I mean, I think they're up there. There's a lot of good teams in the Big Ten.
There are a lot of good teams, and that makes me even more concerned for Iowa.
For your top pick.
Yes, they're playing a lot of teams who can score and who can keep points off the board. And
let's just recall that Max gave me the first pick, handed me South Carolina.
I was very confident with Iowa at 1. Look, season's not over yet. They have a lot of time. They're a well-coached program. They have a lot of time.
Yeah, we're not going to go on a Damon Borgia victory tour yet.
That's right. A lot of season left to play. We'll keep it in the Big Ten. Let's go. Earlier this week, Ohio State destroyed Louisville. 19-point victory on Wednesday night, I believe. That's huge, and that's a very good Louisville team. They've fallen in the rankings. They were another one of my preseason. These are actually both 2 teams that I picked in their preseason championship. 19-point victory over Louisville, a team that can score a lot of points. So Ohio State is looking really good. I kind of think that Ohio State might be the best team, second best team, Sorry, South Carolina is the clear and obvious number 1, but as much as I like Stanford and I like UConn, I like the teams that are up there at the top, I think Ohio State, out of the Big Ten, might be the second best team in the country.
I gotta disagree with you.
Disagree?
I would almost go as far as calling you crazy.
Whoa.
Ohio State, if you look at their schedule, really all they've done is beat the teams they're supposed to beat. Other than the Tennessee game, that was big. You can maybe say the Louisville game is pretty big. But like if you looking back on it, hindsight's 20/20. Tennessee, what happened to you guys? Louisville, they're good, but they haven't really done anything this year.
Okay, all right, I accept that take.
And I think there's better teams. Like we haven't talked about Stanford at all, but we got to give them some respect.
Listen,
they took South Carolina to OT that other game.
They did. That's another team, though, that hasn't played the toughest schedule.
Yeah. And I think they're regular season merchants.
Yeah.
When tournament time, I don't know. But I love UConn. We'll get to UConn later, but I love UConn in that 2 spot.
UConn is a solid team, and they have a lot of ranked victories.
Big games.
Big games, including one coming up this weekend that we'll talk about later. Let's keep it in the Big Ten. Again, there's so many teams in the Big Ten that we can talk about.
It might be the best division.
That's what I'm saying. Last night, Indiana stomped on UNC. This was 6 versus 5, but it did not look like it at all. It looked like ranked versus unranked. Indiana, the number 5 team in the country, took care of business against UNC, 87-63. These are 2 teams that have looked impressive early, but Indiana looked like clearly the better team
easily.
last
I
night.
scored them in every quarter. It just wasn't even close.
No, it wasn't at all. It was easy, and I like Indiana. They've got some interesting players who don't look like the most athletic. They don't step on the court and intimidate you like South Carolina or UConn, but Indiana has some players, and they're going to be hanging around come March.
Yeah, I think they definitely have a shot to make some noise in March.
Very much so. So, I'm now realizing that all of the games that I have on here are Big Ten games. But last night, in the Big Ten ACC Championship, Maryland upset Notre Dame. Maryland was 20, Notre Dame was 7 in the country. 2 good teams, but Notre Dame was easily the favorite there.
Mm-hmm.
31 points and a game winner from Diamond Miller, who was looking like a star early in the season for the Terps. They beat Notre Dame in South Bend. That's a very impressive early season victory.
And you saw her going around after.
Yeah.
Just some crap.
That was tough. That was really tough. As a Notre Dame hater myself, I would love to be able to silence South Bend. One note on this game is this game was a Big Ten ACC matchup. It's so weird to me that Maryland is the Big Ten team and Notre Dame is the ACC team. Notre Dame's in Indiana, and they're in the Atlantic Coast Conference, and Maryland is on the coast but competes in the Big Ten with teams from the Midwest. That one just really threw me off looking at those logos. A lot of big games over the weekend coming up.
Can you call them big?
I mean,
ranked, unranked.
A lot of ranked, unranked. But that's a lot of opportunities for upsets. Yeah. Conference play is starting. You never know what's going to happen in conference play. Yeah. Do you have an upset that you like this weekend?
An upset I like. So we did this segment, doing my research. I was looking more at those bottom tier ranked teams. Mm-hmm. So I like Morgan State over Marquette, who's ranked 24 right now.
Interesting.
Marquette has a lot of solid wins, don't get me wrong. But I think they're playing over their head. Mm-hmm. They're out of their element here. And this Morgan State team, they're known for their defense.
Okay.
A lot of the Marquette, even their guards are shooting like 50%. I think if Morgan State can slow them down, bring them back to reality a little.
Marquette definitely has a tough weekend. Excuse me. Between Morgan State and then Seton Hall to open up Big East Conference play.
And we know where you land on that Seton Hall game.
I'm rooting for my Pirates, but it's a big opportunity for them. And 24 is kind of on the brink. It always scares you when your team is sitting there. So Marquette needs to take care of business this weekend. It's safe to say that.
And that being said, if they can walk out of here 2 dubs, I can see some movement happening.
That's a strong weekend for them. That's a big resume booster. And listen, I know we've had a lot of fun at Tennessee's expense, but they're in an upset spot. They are hosting Virginia Tech in the Jimmy V Classic. Look, it's Tennessee. They are a strong program. As much as they have struggled early in the season, they're 4-4.
Oh, I didn't even know it was that bad.
Yeah, it's looking rough, but look, I'm interested to see how they play against Virginia Tech. I think this could be a nice little top 10 win to get them back on track. This is the kind of thing that Tennessee does. You know, when we expect the least out of them, they go on a run. Yeah. So, a big game in the Jimmy V Classic. Keep an eye on it. I'm not going to say I guarantee like an upset or anything like crazy like that. No way. Not this Tennessee team. But I do think that they could have a bounce back spot this weekend against VT.
Yeah, I like that.
So, now we've talked a little hoops. Let's get into something we know a little less about. The NCAA volleyball tournament got underway last night. This is a very exciting sport. Neither of us know all that much about it, but we're very excited to learn more about it, and we're excited to fill out brackets. Brackets aren't just for March anymore, folks. The NCAA Division I Women's Volleyball Championship has a 64-team bracket, just like your favorite basketball tournament that takes place in March. So, went through, a little pen and paper, filled out all my picks. Very old school. Now, I'm not going to bore you with my first and second round predictions. Like I said, a lot of first round games did take place last night. And it was
a lot of favorites
winning. Let's see. Georgia did beat Towson. That was an 8-9, and it doesn't really feel like an upset, to be perfectly honest with you. Kansas did beat Miami, which is a 10-7. Again, not a huge upset. Nothing big really took place last night, and I don't really see many upsets coming forth in the first two rounds at all. So let's jump to my regionals picks, my Elite Eight, if you will, for all my March Madness watchers. In the top left region over here, we have Texas, who is the top overall seed.
Yeah, man.
Looking to make a run. They have looked good this season. Again, I'm a Texas doubter all the time because I'm a hater. Because I like to wear this sweatshirt instead of the other one. Texas does have a really tough road. All the expert opinions are saying that they have a tough road. Mm-hmm. They face Georgia next after taking care of business against Fairleigh Dickinson, and then they could get Georgia Tech or Marquette. I have them facing Marquette, but I do have them advancing. But then they're going to get Minnesota.
That's like you said.
They will probably get Minnesota. Minnesota's the 2 seed. I don't see much competition. The winner of Ohio State, USC, Southern California, will pose a big challenge, but I do see Minnesota advancing. Between Texas and Minnesota, I like Minnesota. They're hot.
Get hot at the right time. That's all that matters.
They are the hottest team in the country right now. They did not have that 2 seed a month ago, but they picked it up with some key wins, especially over Nebraska. That was a big in-conference victory that they got there. So I do have Texas and Minnesota facing off. In the lower left quadrant, I have Kentucky advancing to meet with Stanford. Now, I don't think Stanford really has a big challenge on this.
Yeah, I think Stanford walks in there.
I think Stanford
side of the bracket.
Yeah, takes it to the Final Four easily. They are another 1 seed. They won 3 out of 4 between 2016 and 2019. It's a dominant program.
A lot of history.
They were there last year. I think they'll be there again. Toughest matchup they face could be San Diego, although I see San Diego slipping up against Kentucky. That's why I have Kentucky, the 3 seed in there instead of the 2 seed San Diego. Mm-hmm. San Diego doesn't play in the strongest conference, but they did finish the year with a 27-1 record. So you have to honor that.
You gotta respect it.
But I think the big time programs will step in and take care of business in the bracket. Now, in my top right corner, we have the defending champs, Wisconsin. I see them making it pretty easy.
I think
run
similar to Stanford, they could walk through this bracket.
Not a lot of.
How you feel about Pitt?
Look, I gave them as much credit as I could. I have them going to the Elite Eight. I love my Panthers, but I do not think they're going to beat the Badgers. Again, this is not an upset-heavy bracket. As much as we like to pick upsets, if we maybe knew a little bit more about the teams, we could probably pick some more upsets. Everyone loves a good upset in March, but...
December.
That's right. Maybe there'll be some December madness coming your way. But that being said, I think the committee got it right with their top seeds. I think they put the best teams at the top. Yeah. There are good teams top to bottom, but I think that the best teams will show it against the lower seeded competition.
Yeah, can't argue with you there.
And then in my bottom right quadrant, I have Nebraska, the 2 seed, advancing to face the 1 seed Louisville. Louisville had a good showing in ACC play, but I'm going to give this one to Nebraska.
Yeah.
Nebraska is a historically dominant program. They know how to win. They know how to get there. They were in the Final Four last year, and they looked really good there. They advanced to the championship and lost to Wisconsin. So I have them getting back near the top, upsetting Louisville in that bracket.
Yeah. And I think the key for Nebraska, we were talking about it earlier, the Final Four in Omaha. So you just got to get to the Final Four, and then you can let the home court ride it out from there.
And that is the key to my Final Four picks here. I have Minnesota coming out of the left side of the bracket, beating Stanford in the Final Four. I think the momentum is going to carry them into that championship matchup. Stanford's good. I know Stanford's good, but I like Minnesota. They're hot at the right time. And I did have 3 out of 4 Big Ten teams in my Final Four, and I think 2 of them are going to match up for the championship.
A lot of Big Ten talk.
Yes, they're such a dominant conference in the sport of volleyball. You can't leave them out. I have Wisconsin and Nebraska matching up in the Final Four. The key here, Wisconsin has been one of the best teams in the country for the last 2 years plus. The key here is, like you mentioned, these games are being played in Nebraska. I know Wisconsin travels well, but Nebraska fans are going to have the easiest access to those tickets, and they are going to fill out that arena in Omaha.
That place is going to be rocking.
It's going to be rocking for the Huskers, and that plays a huge advantage, especially in volleyball where there's so much momentum. That carries huge weight. When the crowd is behind you, that's going to play a really important role. So I have Nebraska facing off with Minnesota in the national championship. Once again, I think that home field advantage is going to come into play. I have the Nebraska Cornhuskers winning the national championship.
I mean, we're talking about Minnesota riding their momentum all the way. So it'll be interesting to see if this matchup happens, how they'll handle the shift in momentum and energy with the Nebraska home court advantage.
Absolutely. I think that is going to play a huge factor. So, fill out your brackets as you see fit based on those picks from us.
Yeah, I don't know how much weight you give them.
Be cautious about that. Now, we're going to get into our walk-off segment. We're going to each give you a pick to send you into the weekend. We're going to bring in producer Kate.
She got a chair?
I don't have a chair this time.
You got a crown.
I'll go grab a chair.
Should I take his chair?
Take his chair.
All right, welcome, Kate. Hi, people.
Hi, people.
All right, so we all last time out,
Oh, God.
David and I had a pretty good showing. Once again, 2 for 2 on our parlay this week. 2 for 2 on our picks last episode.
Me and Max are rolling.
We are rolling. We're as hot as can be. Damon hit on Connecticut over Texas last time out. I knew that Indiana upset was coming over, quote unquote upset was coming over Tennessee. No question. Okay, I wanted to believe. I am as biased a Seton Hall fan as there is. Fortunately, they couldn't pull it out against the in-state rival Princeton, athletic juggernaut of the Ivy League. So,
those nerds.
Go study.
Chill.
So 1-0 on either end of the bench, 0-1 in the middle. It's a bounce back week for Kate.
Is it?
Ride with Kate. What do you got this week?
I don't. Well, Max, you have Kentucky on your bracket. I have Western Kentucky taking them tonight.
Interesting.
I do.
Knocking Kentucky out of the bracket early, a 6-3 matchup.
I think it's possible.
That's interesting. That goes against the bracket.
Volleyball is one of those sports where it's hard to come back from. Once you slip up once, you're down a point. It's hard to come back from that. And especially with I don't know. I feel like Kentucky fans in Rupp Arena versus I don't know, a home field advantage for UK or WKU. That's one. But
Toppers.
the toppers. Anyway, I just don't think it'll affect them that much. I think everyone in Kentucky, speaking from experience, is a UK fan at any point. So I don't think it's really gonna affect them much. They do have a winning record on the road, winning streak of 10 right now on the road. So I don't know. I kind of, with no ill intent for UK, I'm hoping they lose tonight.
The Road Warriors from Bowling Green. Okay, I like that pick. I'm going to take my pick from the women's basketball pool this weekend. A lot of big matchups. Texas is on the brink of the rankings at number 22. I think they're going to get knocked out by South Florida. They play tonight. USF is a really good program. They've been in and out of the rankings the last few years. They're hot right now. They have a great record, and I think they want a win against a ranked team to potentially get themselves on the ranked team. They're a team on the bubble. They want to put Texas back on the bubble. I take USF straight up over Texas tonight.
Yeah. I like that pick. What a fall from grace for Texas if that happens.
Very much so. But
they were one of the favorites coming in, too. Good thing we left them off our draft.
Exactly.
All right, I'll take my pick. I like UConn over Notre Dame later this week. From what I've seen from UConn, I think the most complete team in women's college basketball.
Yeah.
They can score on all three levels. Aaliyah Edwards is a force in the interior. AZ Fudd perfectly filled that Paige Becker's gap.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about in our draft. I mean, you guys know I love that UConn team from our draft. Took them early. I also picked. This is two of my picks. Notre Dame and UConn.
That's true.
So I'm going against one of my picks, but I think UConn walks easily. If they're given lines, if they're given alternate lines, I can see them winning by 15-20.
Really?
Yeah.
That's huge. Yeah, Notre Dame not looking so hot either after that loss to Maryland. So
yeah.
A big spot for the Huskies. I like them as well. I agree with you.
I'd also like to point out Nika Mule, leading women's college basketball in assists by over 2.5.
Woo! Okay.
This UConn team is nasty. That's why I picked them over Ohio State when you were talking about it. That's why I went as far as calling you crazy, because this UConn team.
Throwing around the C word a lot this morning. But okay. I like UConn. I like UConn a lot. I like that pick. All right. That does it for us. We're going to send you into the weekend. Go make some money betting on women's sports this weekend. And follow us on Instagram in case we drop some must-hammer bets.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for joining us. See ya.
Don't follow my picks. I'm just having fun.